The Nigerian Labour Congress has rejected the new regime of the pump price of petrol announced by oil marketers, describing it as provocative and designed to worsen the poverty level and hardship that Nigerians are passing through. NLC, in a statement signed by its president, Joe Ajaero, says an 18% increase in the price of petrol at this time of great difficulties for Nigerians is sadistic and totally unacceptable. It also kicked against the proposed handout of 8,000 naira as palliatives to 12 million households. By the way, the president has also by now asked for a review of that 8,000 naira palliative. So we have to get a sense of what that will mean from the government spokesperson, Dele Alake. In the meantime, the Labour Union says it is on this basis that the NLC strongly condemns the decision of President Bola Tinubu administration to seek the approval of the National Assembly to obtain another tranche of external loans worth billions from the World Bank. It warns that if the government does not desist from these actions that it is pursuing in the name of palliatives, the union will be forced to review its engagement with the government and may be forced to take matters into its own hands. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Uche Ekwe, who's the head of international relations of the Nigerian Labour Congress, and also Professor Charles Ofogbu of the Institute of Geosciences and Earth Resources of Nasarawa State University. Good to see you, gentlemen, and thanks for your time. Let's start with you, Uche, quickly here, and it has to do with what the kind of rejection that the NLC is having on this. Now that the president has asked for a review, is the NLC still pursuing that line of action?
Which line of action?
Rejecting the 8,000 naira palliative, but already the president has now said, well, he's withdrawing that. It doesn't look too good a thing. He's going to review that. Perhaps he's listened to Nigerians, he's listened to civil society, he's listened to the labor, and he's asked for a review of that.
Yeah, the key thing is, where did we stop? As bad as we feel about even the decision of the deregulation, we are forced by what looked like the preponderance of the feeling to say, okay, now let's go into the right ways to deal with the pains definitely that will come, that will be associated by this line the government have undertaken. And on that, an understanding was reached. We did that basically because we are an organization that discusses, engages, and negotiates. And the understanding was clear that there will be a committee or committees. First, a steering committee and 8 other committees that work in different areas to come out with what will be the way forward to find cushioning effect on the people, on the hardship clearly that have been unleashed on the Nigerian citizenry. That committee have not met. That committee is supposed to work for 8 weeks. We're in the 3rd week. We've submitted our membership of the committees requested by government. But as of today, we are hoping that that steering committee would have met, then subcommittees will start meeting and work out ways to go into resolving the crisis. And it was broad-based, 8 different thematic areas. To come up with an embarrassing handout, because that's embarrassing, it doesn't make sense. To say you give 8,000, all the argument, I don't want to go, because the argument have been everywhere. How do you decide the 12 million and all that? I don't want to dwell on that area. But to look at how was the brain of those who even suggested that, how was their brain working? 8,000 naira to a family, and most importantly, for 6 months. Because that's the area I've noticed people have not paid attention to. Not only that, for 6 months, it it amounts to 48,000 naira. But the fact that it will end in 6 months is very key. Why is it key? After this announcement on the 29th of May, we witnessed fuel started selling at 539 at NNPC and so on in Abuja and all that. Within a few days, yesterday, we are greeted by 617 at NNPC. For us, we reject it because it doesn't make sense, but not because we are taken by surprise. Over these years and in subsequent governments, we have argued that if you want to increase the price of petroleum in the name of deregulation, that we'll concede to that on the basis that we refine our products. Because if we don't, the price of fuel will keep jumping, and it doesn't take any wonderful thing to happen.
And that's where I want to bring in, sorry to cut you there, I want to bring in Professor Charles Ofogbu, who is a geoscientist and someone in charge of our earth resources. He just touched on something very important there, we refining our own crude. How did first paint for us a picture how difficult it is for Nigeria to revamp its moribund refineries?
I think Nigeria is not the only country that have had refining capacity and refineries. Turnaround maintenances do go ahead all over the world on all refineries. Indeed, just as you maintain your car and you service your car routinely and occasionally overhaul your car, vehicles get to some age. When the engine is done with, either you put in a new engine or you have the old engine worked upon. Refineries are the same. All industries, all manufacturing processes do have facilities that have to, from time to time, have turnaround maintenances. So much is made of turnaround maintenances in Nigerian refineries. It's become like a cash cow for some people. It's become in fact, if a proper investigation is done of the turnaround maintenance, turnarounds have gone on in our refineries, you find out that it's often been given, it's like putting square pegs in round holes. The wrong people, in fact, some of the people that have the job, people who have little or no knowledge of what the refining process is. It's political, and to a large extent, depends on who is in charge and who is there and who is... and so occasionally the funds are released and the refineries are never turned around. When you turn around a turnaround maintenance of a refinery, there is a given number of years it's supposed to serve. It's like you put a new engine in your car, it is expected that that same engine will move your vehicle for a certain number of years. Now, that is the first point I have to make. The next point is that why should we? I said it the last time I said we had better be prepared. But when we are not prepared, we have to be prepared to fail. What is happening now is that we're beginning to have so much failures manifesting in the pricing regime of the petroleum products. I also hinted that the way we're going, we want to ask people to pay 700 naira, and we're very close to that. I did say it. If adequate attention is not paid for what should be done, we shouldn't put the cart before the horse. The horse should always be before the cart. We just had an increase from 100 and call it 200% increase that caused so much havoc. Transportation costs, cost of food, cost of medication, cost of drugs, everything has gone up. And a lot of people have decided that rather than go to work, trek to work because they cannot cover the distances, we better stay at home. And all these people have given themselves voluntary unemployment. That is what's going on. A man, you're paying 20,000, never mind about the minimum wage of 30,000. A lot of young graduates are working as secretaries and what they have in plazas, earning 15, 20, 30, 25,000 naira. And where the man cannot, he or she cannot find his way to work, what does he do? He settles down at home, he says, because the cost of transportation to work outweighs, in fact, the cost of transportation to work is over 3 times the value of the money he's paying, unless you want him to go and be stealing in the place he's working. What happens? They are still at home now. They are now at home, and what do? If they have laptops, they are into Yahoo or whatever, Yahoo or whatever they call it. It's all crime, internet crimes. And some that are diehards will go as far as kidnapping, stealing, becoming armed robbers, robbing people, picking at people with that. And that is because this thing was not planned. Now we're still talking about palliatives. The palliatives, 8,000 naira. Well, the labor, I think there's whichever way I look at it, people believe that labor are usually radicals. But on this issue, I think people will support them. 8,000 naira reduces to I don't know how much a day it is. And for an average home, the people that are going to benefit from this are people that have maybe minimum of 4 kids. They have to buy electricity, they have to pay for their own electricity. Mind you, the cost of electricity has gone up. They buy water with this marwa, they don't even have tap water, and that price has also gone up. Gone up by more than, and so at the end of the day, that doesn't work. So what I think we need to do, this new increase should have awaited the outcome of the solution we were seeking.
I'll come back to you because I'm going to take another round so that we'll talk about solutions. Now, you've painted a very, grim picture of what's happening. Let's come quickly here to Uche Ekwe of the NLC. This is the time for us to be asking what should be done. What do you think the government or the people can do to mitigate the hardship?
First, one had expected that the minimum the government should do is to speed up the discussions, that within the 8 weeks framework, there will be a template. That committee includes, because there will be crisis caused in education. So there was a subcommittee that should come up with a solution on intervention on the entire education system. Now, we nominated people from education sector in NLC who we believe will speak from their knowledge of the industry. Of course, we know they will consult with other people and come up with something. There was the transport, mass transport section, because you must intervene in all these places, and that will need money to do. Because we're already in here. Professor said that he said he will get to 700. Prof, the truth is that if things doesn't start happening before the end of the next 2 weeks, we'll overshoot it. Because it's simple.
Possibly.
The importation of petroleum product forces pressure on Forex. Because those who are going to import will not import with Naira. They will import with dollar. So they are now buying up dollars to import. Now, we've gotten the parallel market, whether it has come together or not, but they will buy up dollars. Now, between the last 2 days, in the parallel market, 818 2 days ago, exchange rate, 820. Today, 850. It simply means that the next set of fuel that will be imported, they will mark up with the new exchange rate. That markup will take us above 700. So, the weaker we do things that will move funds, for example, the transport sector, the discussion is on bringing in CNG vehicles. Already we've had discussions with private sectors, manufacturers, Nigerian, not foreign, who have already developed capacity
to convert these cars.
They'll convert these cars. And have even promised that with the right support, they can offload 800 buses. If you put today a minimum of 50 buses, Maraba Nyanya central area, where people pay the usual amount of money to get to work, where the worker goes to convert, and the discussion we are holding and debating with NMPC, throughout last year, they made pledges that they have already gotten ready for those conversions. and that they will announce the centers where people will go and convert. If you don't do the CNG thing immediately and get buses in city centers moving with these CNG buses, causing people to pay what they have been paying, we may not be able to sustain the situation for too long.
Let me quickly bring in Charles here, Charles Ofogbu, as we close. We're asking about solutions and listening to the Labour. One arm is getting the compressed natural gas powered vehicles. What more should Nigeria do to get this off the table?
I think we must facilitate, as a matter of urgency, the rehabilitation and reactivation of the refineries we have. Modernize the refineries. Most of them are working on virtually technologies and of yesteryears. Some of the equipments, I'm sure you like, even in the process of the so-called turnaround, some of the whatever is available, some may have been cutted away. Let's face it, we're Nigerians. We know the truth. So let's get those refineries working. Because when you have the local products, what is happening is that we're exporting crude. We're not even meeting our export quota. And then we're importing refined products. Meanwhile, you have 4 refineries. There are 2 in Port Harcourt, 1 in Kaduna, 1 in Warri. If they are all functioning, even at 50% capacity, even at 30% capacity, it will reduce the volume of imported fuel. And once you reduce the volume of imported fuel, you will reduce the price, the demand for dollars, and you also reduce the cost, the value, the price of refined products. Even some refineries, Nigeria had interest in abroad. I doubt if that's still functioning, because I know Nigeria had interest in some refineries abroad. If you send a product to a refinery, you have an interest in abroad. Do you have to pay? Why don't you bring then the product? Because those products are being marketed and sustaining the economy of the countries where those refineries Nigeria invested in are located abroad. 2, the modular refineries that we talked about, licenses were issued. We want to know who and who got these licenses and why are they not on stream. Because I'm a field of research, I can speculate that some people have these licenses, use these licenses to obtain loan facilities, obtain loans here and there, and then put them into either trading or something else to make quick profit. Meanwhile, those refineries are not yet built. Some have even taken possession of locations on it, maybe Akwa Ibom, anywhere to build the refinery, and they're holding them back as assets. Meanwhile, this country is suffering from either all those licenses should be revoked, and a new bid round for modular refineries commenced. Then 2, on the issue of transportation he's talking about.
All right, quickly then.
On a quick note, you see, he talked about Abuja. The bulk of Nigerians who are suffering from this price of fuel do not reside in the cities and are not government workers. Mind you, the civil service NLC represents is actually supposed to be is representing a small population, but then speak for the masses. In the villages, in the rural areas, the farmers who go to the market, they spend so much. So what we need to do is for government to intervene massively in the transportation sector. Get buses. With the amount of money, these palliatives, the 700 billion or 500 billion, or is it billion or $1 million talked about as loan or so, inject it into massive transportation. Massive transportation in the sense that you can buy buses, if you can acquire buses with that, you can acquire up to 10 buses per local government in this country. Built in Nigeria with really, CNG, powered by gas.
It's really a fine place. Professor Charles Ofogbu, Uche Ekwe of the NLC, apologies, we're running out of time. And I do hope that we'll come back again and talk more about solutions, because listening to both of you talk about solutions looks like it's more soothing, and I do hope that the government will listen.